Hey, so we're joined today by True Music. He hails to us off the back of his new single, Dominion. I'm really looking forward to talking with him. We've been meaning to catch up for a while. How you doing over there, sir?
I'm doing really good, man. I'm blessed to finally do this.
Yeah, sure. I'm looking forward to it. And I've been reading your bio. So you grew up in a Christian household, right?
Correct. Yep.
With a pastor for a father?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Talk me
Yeah.
through that. Is it the typical PK experience or how did that go?
You know, a lot of PK stories I hear is that the kids were super like rebellious and they, go away from the faith and stuff, but that was never really the case with me. Like I would say I had a good childhood and I always went to church, but I gotta say though, I didn't really start understanding about salvation and Jesus and everything till I was about 15 or 16. Then I understood who Jesus was for myself. But I never had this rebellious PK story that you mostly hear about. That was never my story.
Okay. So yeah, I mean that's interesting in itself. So how looking back and it reflecting now, how do you think your father managed to steer you away from going through that rebellious phase?
The only thing I can really think of, and I think about it with my kids too, is that, if you train your child in the ways of the Lord, they won't depart from it. And I was always taught, scripture, and I was always taught, ethics and morality and what sin is and what sin isn't and stuff. And I guess
Hmm.
I guess that just really embedded in me to where I just chose to be on the straight and narrow rather than go completely the other way and do what I wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds also though like he must have done a good job like packaging it to you in a way that, you were able to digest it. Was
Yeah.
was there any tips that you'd say in terms of what you saw him do that you'd be able to pass on to others?
Um, I guess just be honest. Sometimes you want to sugarcoat things or paint things in a certain picture, but like I think if you're just for real with your kids and it's like, hey, this is the consequence if you do this, if you just be real with them. Obviously don't expose them to things they don't need to be exposed to, but
Yeah.
just be upfront, be like, this is the way the Lord would do it and the way he planned it for us, and this is not. And just be honest with your kids, I think would be the best advice for me to give.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. And so he influenced you in that way. Where did the love for music come from though?
I would say he had a lot to do with it too.
Yeah.
He had played piano for the longest of time. He was a worship leader at one point. Then he started playing guitar, and he's a very smart person. Like he's a big brain person. So I
Yeah.
think maybe for some of that from him. But as far as hip hop goes, I was always drawn to it. Like that was always my favorite form of music. I had just never knew there was such a thing as Christian hip hop or Christian rap for the longest time. And then once I
Okay.
found out that, and I'm like, man, this is something I can do. And I just kind of ran with it
Yeah.
since 2007, and here I am now.
So what was your first exposure to Christian rap? How did you hear about this thing?
Um, it was through one of my best friends at the time, through one of his coworkers. I don't even know how it came up. It was like, hey, have you heard of this guy? And he's like, no. He checked it out, and you start hearing this rap all about Jesus, and you hear Christ and stuff thrown in there, and I'm like, wow, like I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, man, I kind of felt the Lord, like, hey, you could do this for me, for my glory, and I started doing it, and it just kind of snowballed from there, I guess.
Yeah, who was it? Who was the first person you heard?
It was Tripoli,
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, you got into one of them long verses, huh?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Tripoli's cool. Tripoli's cool. You seen him out and about lately?
To be fair, I have not listened to any of his new music for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I think of him, I think of like the 2020 album, or if they only knew like all the
Mm-hmm.
old stuff. I don't know anything new.
Nah, that's classic. That classic
Yeah.
116 era, that unashamed era. Did you get the
Yeah.
tattoo?
No, I don't got no tattoos.
Yeah, yeah. I knew a few guys that 116 music was hitting so hard they had to go get that unashamed tattoo still.
No, I don't got that.
Oh man. So like, okay, so you're a Christian guy, you fall in love with hip hop. That feels like a good synergy in terms of your journey into rap. Did
Yeah.
you feel like it was a calling, or did you feel like it was something that you just kind of felt like you wanted to do?
I would say a calling, and the reason I say that is because when I was in high school, I don't know if this was on my bio or not, maybe it was. My senior year, many moons ago, 'cause I'm an old man now. A couple of my friends were really into the hip hop culture, and they started writing lyrics, and it was all about materialism and sex and drugs and all that stuff. And I kind of felt the Lord be like, you know what? If they can do that for the glory of the world, you can do it for my glory and to promote my kingdom. And I had sat on it and just thought about that for a little while, and it just kept getting stronger and stronger. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like I
Mm.
should try to do this. And then once I started, I just didn't stop, and here I am now.
No, that's awesome. Let's.
Yeah.
What's your balance now then? Are you involved in church ministry or do you use rap as your ministry? Like, what's your vibe now?
Yeah, I help with the youth at my church. I wouldn't say that I'm a leader or anything like that. I just help out where help is needed. But yeah, we go to church regularly, of course, and then obviously I look at each concert I do as a form of ministry. Like, because when I get up there, I just don't do a song. I'll also try to share the gospel in between. And if people don't know Jesus in that crowd, I want to make sure they do know Jesus. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
definitely you look at that as this is a ministry for me as well, not just a way to entertain people so they can say, that was dope. Like that's not my purpose here. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you. I hear you. And how have you found that journey in terms of going from pastor child, young Christian involved in music to a Christian artist now?
What do you mean specifically?
So the journey of living the life of a Christian rapper, essentially.
Hmm. Um, Persecution.
Okay.
Uh, it's like once people hear about it and find it out, and the internet's a small place. Like it's big, but it's small at the same time. So as soon as somebody found out about it at work, it spread, and then I got, made fun of, and
Mm.
this guy thinks he can rap, and this guy is, a Jesus freak and all that stuff. And it is what it is. And then I just try to remind myself, those who are ashamed of the Father on earth, he'll be ashamed of you in heaven. And that it's what it is though, but everybody knows me for it now, and now they just accept it. Not that I ever really cared what they thought, but it's just like, oh, that's just true. Like that's what he does. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. I feel like we're at a crossroads. Um, I think this Forrest Frank thing has been like going crazy for a minute now, and I think he's still leveling up. So personally, I'm kind of waiting and watching just to see where things go because I don't even think it's hitting people's ear as Christian rap, even though we're so Christian. I think they're
Mhm.
just enjoying the music.
Yeah.
So yeah, I found that quite interesting, you know?
Yeah. Like, so it's more of like vibe-ish and good mood music rather than people actually understanding it's about Jesus, is what you're saying?
I mean, so I don't want to characterize like the whole of the listenership, but essentially what I'm speaking to is, say, those said co-workers,
Mm.
um, because I've found that to be something that's crossed over in a way that is irregardless of that label. Because so he would label it as Christian or gospel, right? But I think
Right.
the world is listening to it and they're just hearing music largely. And I'm not necessarily saying it's a good thing or that's a bad thing, but I'm saying it's a thing.
I can see that.
And previously, yeah, I think the labels were hitting so hard. Like Lecrae's probably the guy that kind of had to carry that cross the most in terms of what do we label this thing. And he's kind of had to grapple with that. Do you have a perspective on that whole debate in terms of the marketing of music as being specifically Christian?
I mean, I can see both points, like, both sides of the fence, so to speak. But in my opinion, like for me, I make it very bluntly obvious that I do Christian rap or I do Christian hip hop or holy hip hop, whatever you want to call it. Because if you
Mhm.
listen to one of my songs, you are going to hear Jesus and you're going to hear scripture. You're going to hear, X, Y, and Z about,
Mm.
biblical truth or whatever it may be. So for me, it's like it's unmistakable. Now, someone like, Lecrae, again, I haven't really heard much of his new stuff, to be honest with you. But I do know that the message has changed from very upfront to it's kind of dwindled down, right? He doesn't really talk about Jesus as much anymore. That's my understanding anyway.
Yeah, I'd say there was probably a dwindling phase. I'd say it's no longer a dwindle. Um, yeah, I mean, this is part of the thing where I think I've never maybe been as critical as some people. Um, just on the basis of first and foremost, I'm a lover of truth. Like
Okay.
if something is genuinely how you feel, I'm never going to really pressure or push somebody to kind of conform to how I think that they should be in a moment.
Hmm.
And I say reflectively, that time when the kind of content was maybe watered down or dwindling was at the same time that his faith was maybe watered down or dwindling. Um, so I can reconcile those things and be okay and just be like, okay, yeah, this guy is on a journey, and I think so. The whole restoration album and concept now essentially speaks to that, right? In terms of his faith being restored and his view of how he practices his faith being restored and having a kind of solid foundation there. So he's come back around, I would say, from being the poster boy almost for the Jesus freak to the poster boy for selling out and dwindling to
Hmm.
I think now finding a space of just yeah, he's talking about Jesus. It might be in the context of life, which again I'm not mad at him for, but I'd say he's in a good place musically.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I haven't listened to him in a long time.
Yeah, who
That's
are
good
you
to hear,
listening
though.
to?
It's good to hear. What's that?
Who are you listening to?
Honestly, I mostly listen to like Christian contemporary music,
Okay.
like K-Love, type stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you can
Um,
throw out some names. Let's hear who's you got in your headphones.
what do you say?
Yeah, let's hear who you've got in your headphones. Who
Oh,
else?
like Chris Tomlin or Phil Wickham or you know, who I don't even know names. Brandon Lake sometimes, like,
Hmm.
but that's honestly what I mostly listen to. And then if I do listen to rap, it's typically more of the older stuff that I mentioned before, like um a lot of the new rap, because a lot of people hear me too, and they equivalent or I don't know the word for that, but they relate me to the old style of rap instead of this new stuff because I don't like the mumble stuff. I
Hmm.
don't like the I'm gonna give you half a bar, then say a half a bar, a, and like everybody does that now, and I'm not a fan of that. And I'm not saying people are wrong for doing it. I'm just not a fan of it. So I'll listen to the old school rap if I when I do listen to rap. I'll say that.
Yeah, I'd say I echo that too. I think it's hard to like necessarily like say it sounds stooped in. I don't even like the term old school because it hits the air weird. Um, I know some people like to call it gold school now just because of that same thing. What's a good name for it? I would say.
Classic?
Uh, Are you talking 90s when you say that?
No.
Go on. When you say classic, whatever you're talking about.
Early 2000s?
Okay.
I mean, that's 25 years ago.
Yeah,
20,
yeah.
25. That's a while.
Yeah. I'd say the connoisseurs would say that 90s is classic
I'm
and
with
like
that. Yeah.
80s is old school just because of the heavy hitters that kind of came out of that era. Some
Yeah.
survived, some didn't, but yeah, in that era. And then so yeah, it's a funny one because it's not all the way old and it's not that recent. I don't think it even necessarily has a full-on name. It's almost like not mumble rap.
Right.
It's like the end of the timeline, which is I don't know, future. He
Okay.
might be a decent timeline on the marker, but I'd say I hear 90s influence in there's not a lot of top end instrumentation and the kicks and the snares and stuff come through pretty clean. They have space to kind of come through. Um, and yeah, I can tell you prioritize what you're saying over just how it sounds, if that makes sense.
It does.
So yeah, so some people they're so caught up with flow, which again, I'm not saying that is a bad thing. because everyone likes to dance. But they still got up with flow that they kind of just flow and they don't really care too much about the bars or the takeaways or the narrative or the storytelling or anything like that. Whereas I do hear those elements in your music in terms of the storytelling, and you're able to stick to a subject, which which is quite fleeting. To hear a verse about one subject or a whole song about one subject nowadays, it tends to be all over the place.
hmm
Yeah.
And I try really hard to do that. If I'm gonna make a song about, Dominion, it's gonna be about Dominion and walking
Mm-hmm.
in victory and living a life that the Lord calls us to, you know. And honestly, it's really rewarding though, because almost after every concert, basically every single time, somebody will be like, "Hey, I really loved what you said because I could understand you, and it's about biblical principles." I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to make a song about being a demon hunter and I'm gonna step on a demon's head and I'm gonna, all the stuff that people do, that ain't me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah.
people seem to appreciate that all the time. They're like, "Hey, I really enjoy your message because it is a message. It's not entertainment." So I try really hard to do that. And maybe it's too much for some people, but hey, that's just the ministry God gave me, I say.
No, that's dope. I mean, if you go a step further, how would you unpack your sound and your message for someone who's never heard your music before?
Man. The two biggest things I would say is Christ-centered, God glorifying, and them are the things I really aim to do. And hopefully, I don't put people off with the amount that I give them, but at the same time, when they hear it, I want them to be, fed and to get a well understand meaning of like, man, when he talked about putting Jesus first. He said, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Things will be added to you and to love the Lord with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, not just when it's convenient for me. Like I want people to really know what I'm trying to express to them. So I guess Christ-centered and God glorifying would be the two big ones I could say if you're going to listen to my music.
Yeah, that's dope. Do you have a? I know this is always a controversial question to ask, right?
Hmm.
But do you have a favorite song of yours?
Probably.
Mm,
It's actually one of my older songs. It's from 2011. It's called
okay.
Salute. And do you know who T. Hattie is? Do you remember him?
How do you? Don't think so.
Okay. He's on the hook and he just killed that hook. And I feel like the Lord, gave me some good verses to go along with it. And it seems like, I still do it to every concert this day. Like that one is always in the chamber, ready to go. And everybody just seems to love this song. So I'd probably say that. It's called Salute. You
Salute.
should check it out.
Yeah, I will check it out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What stands out to you? The hook you're saying is what kind of does it for you, or
All of it. I love the beat. It's just something about it that you can, like, for me, I can just get lost in. The hook is great. I feel the verses are powerful and meaningful, and people can like get behind them. Like, you know, because I like to share this too. The book of Timothy says, to fight the good fight of faith.
hmm
And we're going to endure hardness in this life, but to endure hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. So in this is one of those songs where I'm trying to like, battle cry, like we need to take this for the Lord, have dominion, so to speak. We need to live this way for the Lord and be a soldier in the army of God. And
Yeah.
this is our town. We need to rise up and we need to be the ones to be bold and to be unafraid and just encourage people in that way. And I think that the whole song I love and everybody seems to love it. So hopefully you do as well. But I would say that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, still. And you mentioned performing. You've performed at quite a few different countries, right?
Three so far. I'm hoping for more.
Yeah. So US, Canada, Jamaica.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Okay. How did the Jamaican performance come about? That's the one that kind of stands out to me.
Right. It was crazy. I got hit up by this was already a while ago. This was 2010, something like that. But I had gotten hit up by somebody who was a part of something called Cruise with a Cause, right?
Okay.
and they were one of the performers because it was a Christian-based cruise, and they were one of the performers or ministers that was going to be on this cruise to go to, Jamaica.
Hmm.
And she was actually, a fan or a supporter of me, and she knew like one of the people in charge or however that looked, and she asked me if I would like to be a part. So I was able to go on this cruise to then go to Kingston, and there was one other city that I don't remember, but I got to perform on two separate dates.
Yeah.
And it was the coolest thing, man. And I never thought I would be able to do that, but God opened this door through Facebook, through this, supporter of mine, and it was so cool.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Like, how did it feel in contrast to like your usual performances in, say, the US?
Entirely different.
Yeah, in what
Everything
way?
different. Um, every way, honestly. I mean, of course, the demographics different, but the environment, like being in a jungle, compared to being in America where there's cities and buildings everywhere and stuff, like,
Yeah.
but it was a really rewarding experience though, man. Like I'm really blessed I got to do that. And not a lot of people get to. So hey, I'm very fortunate I did.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. And then were you nominated, was it, for Holy Hip Hop Award in 2013?
Yep, I was blessed to be one of the honorees to get one of them. Man, I forgot about that, so thank you for bringing it up.
No, no, that's so good. That's so good. So what was the context for so you won it, you said, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the context around?
Um, Honestly, it was what was his name? Danny something. My memory is so bad. Danny something found me through the South, I think, or Holy Culture. One of the two. Do you remember
Okay.
those?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he actually picked me because of the song Salute, and I'm not joking.
Okay. That's
So
great synergy right there.
that was the song that took me there, and I was able to be an honoree. I flew to Florida at Flavor Fest, if you've heard of it,
Yeah.
in America. But and I was able to, you know, meet great people, and I got this trophy. Not that I really care about that, but it was just a real rewarding experience. And I was like, man, God really must be doing something with this song to allow this to happen. You know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah.
blessed and very grateful, for that.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome takeaway, man. Because you know what, like you said, it's kind of funny because like I get it, but it's one of those things where it's hard to balance. So earlier when you were kind of saying about the persecution and such that comes with the Christian rap,
Hmm.
I feel like sometimes the sword is double-edged because so you have the persecution side, right? And then
Right.
like you just said, it's almost because of our default position as Christians, sometimes we're like, trophy, like who cares?
Mhm.
Like about the trophy type thing. So I feel like because as Christians, perhaps we like forsake the ego or we don't place so much value on it.
Mhm.
We don't get that pick me up sometimes that maybe the world gets. In terms of, just okay, here's a Grammy, here's this, here's that, just because of a value system.
Yeah, I can
But
see that.
yeah, what do you feel like does it for you in terms of measuring success? How do you measure success?
Hmm. Probably listener testimonies.
Okay.
Whether, from a concert or if they streamed a song or whatever, if they come to me and is like, hey, this was impactful for me. These words helped me out, these words challenged me, whatever the case may be. Like my song Endure, three people used that at their funeral for one of
Wow.
their loved ones because it was such a meaningful song to them and that person who had passed. That's a really big deal for me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I don't care about, Spotify numbers, which I know the whole world idolizes Spotify numbers, but it's like I'm not big on that. I'm not big on anything else. I just want people to be impacted. And if they let me know specifically that, hey, this helped me in this sort of way, that's the most rewarding thing to me, I would say.
No, that's awesome, man. And like honestly, it's immeasurable, right? You can't really quantify that kind of thing by any metric.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely something special. And you've done a lot of collaborations too. Is there anyone on your hit list still? Anyone out there that you're thinking, yeah, I'd definitely like to do a collaboration with them?
Skillet,
Okay.
the rock band. I
Yeah,
think that would
yeah,
be awesome. Um, no, that would be like a dream come true thing. And then my
yeah.
whole family loves Skillet, so they would all lose their mind.
Oh,
So
wow.
that would be cool. But maybe Flame. I think that would be cool.
Uh-huh.
I've been a big listener of him for a long time. To be honest, not his new stuff. Not that I know anything bad about it. I just haven't been up to date on it. But like all of his old projects, I love, and they were my favorites. So probably those two. I'm sure there's more that I can't think of, but
Yeah. And where do you feel is the next step for you in terms of your musical journey?
man, I wish I could put an answer to that as far as like, I know this is next and this is my goal. I just kind of take it one day at a time. And I look forward to whatever comes next, but I can't really say. I just hopefully move where God wants me to move and do what He has me to do. And if that leads to a certain direction, great. I'm going to follow that direction. I
Hmm.
just don't want it to be something that I want. I want it to be what He wants and He has for me. You know what I mean? So if that means touring and all this great stuff, awesome. I would love that. And if it don't, it don't. You know what I mean?
Hmm. No, that's dope. That's dope. Like, I appreciate that sentiment too. I always like to end by asking, what can people pray for you about or pray into in terms of, it doesn't even have to be music.
Um, I would probably say music though, to be honest with you, as far as like the ministry aspect of it. I want to be somebody who God can continue to use and someone to encourage people and challenge people in their faith or introduce them to the faith, introduce them to Jesus. And it's like
Mhm.
that would go a long way for me. And then probably just the health of my family as well. Tomorrow's not promised, things can happen. So just always being lifted up is always a good thing. And, people ever ask me, like, hey, can I pray for you? Always. Like, I'm never too good for prayer. I can always use
Mhm.
prayer. Like, I ain't above nothing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah.
if you want to pray for me or anybody else, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's the all right. True music. It's been a blessing speaking to you. I'm gonna go and check out Salute. I suggest the audience out there that you guys check out Salute, that you check out Dominion, and he's got a pretty thick catalog, and so you can definitely keep your playlist full if you want to go down a true music deep dive. All right, you take care over there, brother.
Hey, thank you so much, man. It was an honor.
God bless.